Well, hi there, Sax Gourmet fans. This is Steve Goodson. I am once again, it's Tuesday night, speaking to you from our ultra top secret command and control bunker here at Sax Gourmet World Headquarters, located in the historic Garden District of Old New Orleans. And, we're located in Sector R, if you ever want to come find us. And I want to tell you that tonight is one of the more important topics that we've ever addressed. And I have a number of very good friends who are university music instructors, and some of them quite famous. And I beat these guys up all the time about they're doing a wonderful job of teaching these young people about how to play. They really, really are. But they're doing a terrible job about teaching these young people how to make a living playing. Now, here's something that we need to kind of understand. If you go to any music market of any size at all, you're going to find that there are a couple of people up there at the top of the food chain, and they're getting most of the good gigs. Well, how could that be? Because, there are lots of people that can play. Hey, Jimmy, lots of people can play. Lots of people can play at a very high level. Now, just because you can play at a high level doesn't mean you're going to work all the time. Or as much as some of the people who may not play at as high a level as you play at. And really, what brought this seminar to mind, I've got a number of my private students are also music majors at, or I think all these guys are jazz studies majors. I'll stand for correction if I'm wrong, but they're music majors at a wonderful music program at one of our local universities here in New Orleans. Really, this is a first-class program. And all of these guys are two of them, and these young people play at a very, very high level. I mean, they can really play, but they had never worked much. And they're beginning now that they've come down here to New Orleans to study. They've come down and they were asking me, they said, Steve, how in the world do you get these gigs? And why is it that some people get gigs and other people don't? Now, it's very important for you to understand that there are lots and lots of people to play. And you also need to understand that if you're going to really be a professional musician, and I was one for years and years and years, then something that you got to understand is you're going to have to figure out a way to support yourself because your boyfriend or girlfriend's only going to put up with you lying around all the time, for so long. And mommy and daddy going to make you move out of their basement. So what you gonna do? Well, I guess you better figure out how to get up to that point in your local food chain where you getting those good gigs. So let's talk about this. Now, the first thing I would suggest you do, and really this is so important, is you need, like anything else, to establish a budget for yourself. Damn, I wish our Congress could do that. But the fact of the matter is, you need to figure out how much it's going to cost you to live and, have a new automobile and a swanky apartment and all that good stuff. And, what all you're going to have to do musically to do that. Because really, and yeah, I do mean this the way it sounds. If you're really dedicated to being a professional musician, then if you have a day job, it's going to get in the way because you're going to have to miss some playing opportunities or some learning opportunities or something, just so you can go flip burgers or whatever. So you either all the way in the game or you're not in the game. Establish a budget and a goal. Now, one of my other students, this wasn't one of the two that's just beginning to play, was at his lesson Monday afternoon. And this guy can play. He's gigging all the time. Now of course, everybody's younger than me. I'm 68 years old. But this young man was saying, well, Steve, I got a gig coming up next weekend. And, they wanted my band to play this Beatles song. It had some special significance to the host or whatever. Well, what is it? Oh glad thee, oh glad thou. Desmond had a barrow at the marketplace. Molly was a singer with a band. But anyway, he said, and I started to tell the guy there ain't no saxophone parts in that. What? Say, that's a problem. So I picked up my horn off my sax racks and I played him played him the horn parts for that. Now, which brings me to something that's crucial. In your musical market, you need to understand what is the repertoire that's being played. And it varies from community to community. When I moved to New Orleans in 1994, I knew, of course, some of the New Orleans tunes, but I didn't know all this stuff. And so the very first week I was here, I hired one of the horn players in Fats Domino's band to teach me the local repertoire so I could work. Now, over the year, I'm 68 years old. I've been playing for money since I was barely 14. I know thousands or tens of thousands of tunes. You need to do likewise, because something you don't want to have happen is be on a gig and somebody requests a tune and you can't play it. Hell, there might have been a $100 tip involved. Believe me, I've had more than my share of 20s putting the bell in my horn because I knew the tune they wanted to hear. And that means a lot to people. So begin working right away on a very, very diverse repertoire. That is so important. I want to give a big shout out to my good buddy, Captain Don Whitecotton. He's a fine man. He's been my buddy for many years. He's a charter boat captain, great guy. But anyway, listen, you need to learn a diverse repertoire. In my career, I've played just about every type of gig you can imagine. And some of the weird ones were, one time I played a gig for Persian New Year's in front of 10,000 people with the Mick Jagger of Iran or whatever. And wasn't a word English spoken all night, but it was very cool, and we made it through the gig. That's another story for another time. I played one time, I got talked in, the union sent me on this one. I went and played a polka gig, and this old boy from Alabama don't know a whole lot about polkas, but I made it through. But you need to learn a diverse and marketable repertoire. And that don't mean just because it ain't an omnibook that you won't learn to play it. I'm serious about that. That's a mistake I see. So many young players do. Well, of course you made money, Chad. You up there in polka country. But young players, the mistake they make is they're not playing the tunes that people want to hear. And when I was playing, I played for 9 years with the great Vince Vance and Valiants. And Vince used to tell us all the time, said, you look out there in that audience, if those good people aren't singing along with what you playing, your ass just played the wrong song. And there's a lot of truth at that. Remember that you're in the entertainment business. You are not in the business of giving these folks a music lesson. Now, I give music lessons. You can study privately with me, and we'll cover all kind of stuff. But these folks are going out to a nightclub. They don't want no damn music lesson, so don't you try to give it to them. Okay, so learn that. And here's another tip that in the very first band I was in, which was the Fabulous Dudes, I was all 14 years old, but these guys, they were a lot older than me. They already had a Cadillac limousine, said Fabulous Dudes on the side. But the trumpet player in that band, Lomar Manx, Lomar says, look, learn all the songs that the band plays on your guitar or on keyboards. Why? Because you need to be absolutely and completely conversant with all the chord changes. And there's no excuse for not knowing the damn tune. Because if I ever hire you for a gig to play with Steve Goodson and the low budget horns and you don't know the tune, I'm gonna call somebody else next time. And so is anybody else. Now, another thing that I see a lot of younger players, people getting started in the business, failing at is you need to learn the correct horn parts. That's right. Really, and everybody makes jokes about, oh, I don't want to play Mustang Sally. Hell, I want to play Mustang Sally. If those people are dancing and enjoying it, you better believe it. And I am going to play the correct horn parts. And I am also going to be able to play it in any of the 12 keys that the vocalist may require. That's the truth. Always, always, always learn the correct horn parts. And there are a few people that sell some books that have the horn parts to most of the more popular covers. And I would sure encourage you to learn all of those parts. Now, another thing that you need to do, and this makes me crazy. Oh, this makes me crazy. Dwight Anderson's my hero. I'm glad to have my hero here. But at any rate, learn to play the correct solos on a tune. And let me give you an example. And I know good brother Dwight Anderson's going to agree with this because I've heard him do it. Let's say the band's going to play Brown Sugar. Well, guess what happens at the end of the second verse? Your own. And so you better know how Bobby Key's fantastic solo goes note for note. That's what you're getting paid to know. And, there's some solos that are just so standard that there's no excuse not to know that and still call yourself a professional. Now, here's another thing. This is the thing that makes me crazy. New Orleans, believe it or not, is a university town. We've got several good music programs here at the universities. And so, I'd be out there on a gig and somebody says, well, here's little Johnny Smith. He's a music major over here at Loyola, and he's going to be playing tenor with us tonight. Well, that's all well and good, Johnny. I'm glad to have you on the gig. And so, we kind of start grinding away there and entertaining those good people. And it's about time to give Johnny some. So, hey, Johnny, you take 2 choruses. And, we playing a Otis Redding tune, and first thing you know, Johnny's spitting out Brecker licks. Now, those of you who know me know that I love Mike Brecker, and that Mike Brecker was also a good and personal friend of mine, a very good client of mine. But damn it, there's a lot of times that all those complicated licks that Mike played are inappropriate. But I still see people all the time trying to force feed those because they want to give the audience a musical education. Well, you ain't going to last very long. Okay? So learn the repertoire, learn the correct style, learn the appropriate solos, be able to play it in all 12 keys, learn all the chord changes, and just the appropriate licks, not stuff that's inappropriate. Okay, now, here's another thing that we need to talk about. how are we going to find out where the gigs are in your community? Now, when I moved to New Orleans, um, I had played here a number of times, but it was typically we would come in, play a show, get back on the bus, and go to Houston or wherever. And really, I didn't fully understand uh, how the musical market worked here. So you need to figure out what kind of gigs you're going to target. Now, find out where the nightclubs are in your area, or that you think might be a prospect for appearing at, and go down there. Get to know those clubs, and identify them, see what's being played, just what's going on. We're going to talk more about that in a few minutes, and then figure out where are the private and corporate events. Well, there are weddings and bar mitzvahs and such as that just about everywhere. Class reunions, all that, corporate parties. And of course, here in New Orleans, we got a ton of conventions. Find out what to do. If you're going to play weddings now, you got to be on your best behavior. So you got to learn a greatly diverse repertoire, many different kinds of songs, because they're going to be people of all ages and persuasions attending the ceremony. Now, here's a couple of other gig types that worked out real well for me. I used to do a ton of gigs as a solo strolling saxophonist. Back when I was doing this, my fee was $300, and for $300, I'll come in tuxedo to your little event, not just any tuxedo, of course, but in tuxedo nonetheless. And I'll play all by myself, unaccompanied, just tunes. I might find some good-looking gal and follow her around. You never know. Of course, that's why I'm not being considered for the Supreme Court or anything the Senate has to act on, because I followed too many of them gals around. But the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of people who may not be able to afford a full band, but will hire a solo saxophonist. And man, I've played all different kind of things as a solo saxophonist. Corporate events, some guys hired me to open a store one time, and for me to walk around and all that. Another thing that is good business right here in New Orleans is you can play funerals. And man, I used to have a funeral band, and we worked sometimes we would work 3 or 4 days a week, because believe me, the funeral business don't have recessions. It's always going on. And of course, here in New Orleans, a lot of people do have a live band for their funeral. If they're not having a live band for the funerals in the town where you live, maybe you ought to go down to the funeral home and talk to the funeral director about how he could add that to the services. A lot of people like that. Another thing that's very big in New Orleans is, hell, these guys have a parade for just about everything. And one of the reasons that we bought the house that we do is that it's only 100 feet off the main. But this parade's going on in New Orleans all the time. And so I want you to understand something. If you can get me and one of my small bands to march in your parade and all that, I ain't going to do that for my health. You're going to pay me. And how much you think it costs to get this old boy march 3 or 4 miles on pavement and all that? Yeah, it costs a lot. Okay, so identify the types of gigs that there are, okay? And, hone in on them. And, that's what you got to do. Now, let's talk about how to make contact. When I moved to New Orleans, I knew that 6 foot tall redhead that I married that is what drew me to New Orleans. I came here because of love and freely admit it. And I knew one other person, and that was my dear, dear friend, the late and very great Charles Neville. Uh, what a fine man. And Charles, for reasons that are kind of unclear to me, the first week, 2 hours in town, Charles took me, put me in his automobile, and took me around town and introduced me to people. Boy, was that a great thing. Of course, that kind of gave me a leg up on some nice gigs. Here, Ron Messina says he played a lot of fashion shows that were fun and paid well. You know, I used to do that when I was in Birmingham, and I've done one or two of them here. And a good way to meet some models, too. Yeah, you know, them tall, skinny girls. Yeah, right on. That's right, Ron. Thanks for reminding me of that. But anyway, when I was here, I had a lot of time on my hands when I first moved here. And so we needed to figure out where, where the work was. So we would kind of walk around. I would go, y'all have all heard about Bourbon Street, and I would walk up and down Bourbon Street dressed like the rock star that I am. And, I'd hear a saxophone. I'd go up there, and when the band took a break, I'd go over and introduce myself to the saxophone player and say, "Hi, I'm Steve Goodson. What kind of mouthpiece is that you're using?" I'm a saxophone player too, because saxophone players always love to talk about gear and mouthpieces and reeds and all that stuff, and that's the perfect icebreaker. And boy, I got to know all kind of people just by doing that, just by walking up and down Bourbon Street and starting a conversation talking about their setup. Now, be sure to understand this. Where you going to find the working musicians? Well, let me tell you where you ain't going to find them, okay? You ain't going to find them at an open mic night, and you ain't going to find them at a blues jam. Rich Zimmerman, man, there's a good player and my buddy too. I'm glad to see Rich joining us. But you're not going to find people that are making a living playing at a damn blues jam or an open mic night. They're one of the prettiest girls I know, Miss Jane Lindsay. But anyway, don't waste your time going there, because them guys ain't getting paid. They're sitting there, that club owner's sitting there selling whiskey like there's no tomorrow, and the band's playing for free. And you want to be a party to that? Are you kidding me? Well, that's where they're not. So expend some shoe leather. Make the rounds. Get to know people. Believe me, all saxophone players, all of them, won't talk about equipment. So there's a great icebreaker. And sooner or later, we'll get around, well, I used to play with this guy, or I used to do this and all that. Now, I'll tell you something else. And it's something we emphasize with all our students, is that when you go in a nightclub, I'm not, you just go to hear the band or check out the scene and all that, you go in there looking like a rock star. Don't you ever be dressed in such fashion that you could be mistaken for a member of the audience, because you ain't a member of the audience. You're a rock star. And be sure and have them always have your antenna out, for what's going on. Be sure and have the stuff you need. The main thing you need business cards. I ain't kidding. You got to have good business cards. Got to have the following things on it. Got to have your picture. It's got to have your email address. It's got to have your telephone number, your cell phone number, and your website address. Now, you've got to have a website, and you got to have some video of you playing on it, because that's just what's expected now. And don't tell me it's not. You better get yourself a website, even if it's just a basic website. But you get your website and you get you some video up there and let them see what you look like playing. And don't you be wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt, and don't you be in some club and it's dark, you ain't got the lights on you and all that kind of stuff. Get yourself some good publicity pictures. Get them shot by a professional. Don't get somebody's girlfriend who owns a camera. Get somebody that does it for a living. Pay them what they ask. Now, before you have that photo shoot, get on the internet and just look at all of the tens of thousands of saxophone players who have good quality publicity pictures. Look at some of mine. I damn sure paid a lot of money for some of them things. One time we flew a photographer down to New Orleans from Chicago, put him up for 3 days, I think. Shot 8,000 pictures, I think, but I got some great shots out of it. But be sure. Look at what other people are doing. Always be mindful of your wardrobe, and also always in your picture. You a saxophone player? Well, be holding a damn saxophone, so they don't think you're a banjo player or something like that. Hey, Tommy. Now, on the video, quality is a must. Get good quality audio. We've all seen some crappy YouTube videos that they couldn't, the sound was muddy and all that. Throw a little money at the problem. It don't take much money now. But get good quality audio. Be sure that all of this stuff, your music, is very, very easily accessible. You got Spotify, and I don't know what all those different things. The great Jody Espina has joined us here. I'm honored. By the way, you guys feel free to like this presentation and share it to any groups on Facebook that you want, or share it with your friends and family. Now, something that I'm notorious for that I would recommend every one of you learn from me is you can't be too active on social media, because that's the way the game works these days. Be sure that you have a good quality page on Facebook and some of these other sites. Be sure that you participate in all the different groups. I know that we provide, I think it's 15 different saxophone-related groups. One of them groups got 17,000 members, and they're all saxophone players. One of them might need a sub one night. Be everywhere, and don't just lurk. Contribute. If you don't have something to contribute to the discussion, for crying out loud, ask questions. Ask questions. There's my good friend Eric Sanford, former student of mine, fine man. Get him tagged. Participate, and that way people are going to get to know you. And I want you to know that I can't tell you how many jobs that I've gotten from out-of-town bands coming through New Orleans that knew me just because I was on the internet. They didn't know any other saxophone player in New Orleans, and I got the gig, including some very lucrative jobs, if I don't mind saying so myself. Now, another thing you need to do is to start a mailing list. A lot of you guys own mine because my mailing list got thousands and thousands of people on it. And we add more every day. Now, if you're new in town or you don't have any gigs and you can't say, well, here's where I'm playing next week, and then next Thursday we're going to be up at Baton Rouge, and then, if you ain't got any of that to talk about, if nothing else, research something about saxophones or some cool saxophone pictures or something, and have something to say, and let them see your name. And you get to know people. Now, you gotta be knowledgeable, but you can look it up, and it's got to be regular. It can't be we publish now and then. No, you got to do it every week or whatever. And it's got to be something that your clients or prospective clients look forward to. And that's the truth. It's so important. So start your mailing list. We use the service. Donna Schwartz told me about this service. I was using a different one, but it's called aweber.com. And man, it is easy to use. It is great. And, you won't have to get a second mortgage to use that service. Okay. Now, I said we were going to talk a little more about going out to the nightclubs that you hope that I may be working there soon. Okay. I'm no stranger to going to nightclubs. You all you who know me know I'm a drinking man and I love music. So let's go out to the Maple Leaf Bar tonight or whatever. Okay. When you go to those nightclubs, here's a couple of rules that you must always abide by, my friends. Number is when you walk in that club, the water's all apart, and they all know. I don't know who that guy is, but he's some kind of star. He's somebody. Don't go in there wearing shorts and a t-shirt and some flip-flops. Don't do that. You know better. You got to look like a rock star all the time. Another thing that you have to do is visit those clubs regularly. And if you're as funny looking as I am with all these whiskers and long blonde hair on an old man like me and all that good stuff, and mirrored sunglasses, then they're going to get to know you. They may not know your name right away, but they'll know you. And when you come up to the bar, they'll recognize you and introduce yourself. Yeah, introduce yourself. Now, introduce yourself to the waitress. Get to know the club owner if the club owner's present. Bartender's always the most critical individual there, and they'll introduce you to other people. Oh yeah, and if they have a house sound man or a house light man, all that, get to know them too. Tell them what a good job they're doing. People all the time, particularly people in the hospitality industry, are used to meeting people and like people. Another thing to look for in those clubs is somebody is probably coming through there and is an agent and is booking those clubs. I know, man, eons ago, when I was living in Auburn, Alabama, I was in a club one night, a club where I used to play all the time, and this guy came in there, and the bartender introduced me to him, and come to find out he was an agent from Atlanta, and the next thing I knew, man, he was booking me and my band all over the Southeast. And I got to tell you that we've just been joined by one of the great entertainment lawyers, and I'm very serious about this, in our industry, Mr. Giles Davis. And Giles is a good friend of mine, good client of mine. But he is at the top of the food chain when it comes to entertainment lawyer, and he still finds time to play some gigs too. So Giles, you keep up. So get to know these people in the nightclubs. Man, they're going to introduce you to other bands or agents. Now be sure that your appearance is memorable. Yeah. Now, believe it or not, when I was playing all the time, I am retired now, but all of this will tease out to about here. Takes a full can of hairspray to do that, but it will do it. And sometimes we'd put purple tips on it and all kinds of stuff like that, because I have no interest in looking like the rest of the crowd. No, I don't. I don't care anything about that. I want to remember, I don't know who that guy is, but that guy with the blonde hair over there, I want to get to know him. And always, always, always dress like you're about to hop up on the stage. And there are, on the internet, I know there's some good places to buy stage clothes. Yeah, I know Alto Reedy's a customer of mine too. He always looks like a rock star. You better believe it. But I want to tell you that always get the right. Don't cheap out when it comes to your stage clothes or what clubs clothes you gonna wear to the nightclub. Um, we're fortunate that we've got here in New Orleans an excellent high fashion men's store where all the pimps shop, but so do some of the rock stars. They got great stuff, good source of stuff on the internet. For one of our students yesterday, Sharon was showing one of our students just some of the leatherware I had, for stage wear and all that kind of stuff. And that was all money well spent. It really was. Get you a good haircut. Don't let your girlfriend cut your hair. Go out. I used to get, back when I got haircuts, which wasn't very often, of course, I would get my hair cut by the guy here in New Orleans used to cut Rolling Stones hair. And never got me a gig with the Stones, but got me some good looking haircuts. Okay, now, never look like the audience. Research where to get good looking stage clothes and clothes to wear the club. Now, here's another thing, and I want you to pay close attention to this. Always keep your instruments in top condition. Top condition. Don't have rubber bands on your saxophone, for springs. And don't go to the gig without a stand for your horn. Hopefully it's sax racks, because a guitar player gonna get drunk and trip over your horn. Something that I always took to gigs was I've got a big bag full of hand percussion, and I was very fortunate that my good friend, the late Charles Neville, gave me a lot of lessons in how to play cowbell. I mean, you can do a lot with cowbell if you know how, and güiros and afushis and go-go bells and all that good stuff. Because just because you don't happen to be playing it that minute on a tune with the band, you need to be doing something and contributing to the overall well-being. So you do that. Learn to do that. Now, another thing is get your doubles down. Now, before I moved to New Orleans, I think I could truthfully say that I played flute about as well as I played saxophone, and I enjoyed playing the flute. But hell, I got out of New Orleans, nobody uses the flute, so my flute chops kind of went away and all that. But keep your doubles up. Jim Simonetti plays every known woodwind, probably some I don't know about. Now, get you a good quality microphone, wireless microphone. Man, wireless microphones, and it doesn't take anything special to plug it into the PA. Wireless microphones open up this whole other world. And those who know me know that in my youth, well, it wasn't that long ago, I used to walk the bar. Whew! I'd walk the bar, the crowd go wild. Or we would go out, I'd take my wireless, I'd go out into the crowd, and Melanie Kennedy, that girl been breaking my heart for 40 years. But I'd go out into the crowd, find some good-looking girl like Melanie Kennedy, sit on her lap and play something sweet for her. But be sure to get a good wireless microphones, and the guys tell me that the AMT is the one to get. Now, good brother Giles Davis brings up a good point. Giles is a very solid keyboard player and guitar man, and that's gotten him tons of gigs. Not every team needs a saxophone. That's right. I know Jim Simonetti's a good keyboard man too. So learn the keys. Now, you're also going to need an iPad. Some people now, have all their charts on iPads. You got to have it. And I used to take with me my own monitors, sleepers on the floor. That was before I got some in-ear monitors, which are far superior. But I'm telling you, get you the right equipment. Don't cheap out. Is this what you're going to do for a living? Right. Well, it's an investment in your future. Now, it's essential if you're going to succeed in this industry that you need to at least understand how sound and light works. You ought to be able to half-ass run a mixing console and a light console. If nothing else, to interact with the sound man and a light guy efficiently, you need to know how their end of the business works. And I can't emphasize that enough. That is very important. All right, so y'all go learn to do that. Now, here's one other thing, and before I was kind of, Jimmy Nolan, you better believe we're going to tag Jim Nolan. I'm honored to have Jim Nolan join us. But at any rate, here's something you need to know. And I was nervous and wanted to do a good job about making this seminar for you tonight. So who do I call? But the guy who I think of all the Los Angeles area musicians, really, I believe he's working more than anybody else. Jim Simonetti. Now, Jim Simonetti is a highly skilled musician. He plays every known woodwind. Jim, also a good keyboard man. I don't know what all else he plays. I ought to. We've been friends forever. But Jim reminded me of something. We were with Tom Scott one time, who's a mutual friend of ours, and something that Tom said. Now, I want to share this with you. Tom Scott, the most recorded saxophone player of all time, says, always go to the gig and make sure that everybody in the band is having fun. Everybody. Make sure that everybody is in a good mood. Laugh. You know, Simonetti keeps me rolling every time I'm around him. But, that's part of your job too. Peace and harmony in the band. And that will spread out to the audience. But here's something don't you dare do. Don't you dare bring any drama to the bandstand. If you do, I ain't going to call you ever again. And I don't think many other people will either. So I hope that we've shared something to you that gets you some good gigs. We try. Anytime any of you have any questions, feel free to call me at my office during business hours. I'm glad to talk about saxophones or playing them. I hope that everybody who is not currently a member of my mailing list will go to our retail site, nationofmusic.com, and join our mailing list. We won't sell your name to anybody else, so isn't anybody going to call you about your student loans or reducing the interest rate on your credit card. We're adding new products all the time. That's exactly right, Giles. Giles is a very smart guy and a man of few words. Giles said number one rule is don't be an asshole, and Giles is right. Now, we got new products all the time. Here's some of our center brace resonance weights. Man, this is a good product. It's selling great. And we got a demo a bit up. But if you have questions, if you have problems, or if you're just feeling lonely, feel free to call me. And remember, practice long tones every day. Remember to keep your reed wet. And always, always, always play Sax Gourmet. Why? Because Sax Gourmet plays best. I've enjoyed talking to you tonight. I really get a kick out of these seminars, because every time I give a lesson, hell, I get a lesson. I remind myself something I ought to keep remembering all the time. Thank you all. We've had terrific attendance and participation. Thank you all for watching. We'll try to get this up on YouTube for you tomorrow, the next day. And everybody, have a great rest of the week. Goodbye for now.